Hey, welcome back into your Big Trail Nation report. Of course, the talk of the town is this Arkansas Razorback basketball team. And we're back with another week of your Hog Hoops report with Kevin McPherson. And Kevin, some things that stuck out to me first, of course, was the traveling woes for the Razorbacks, but they didn't let that take care of things. They still beat this Bassano team by 21 points overseas yesterday in Italy. I mean, they had some boarding issues, but they had a security guy that helped them out as well. Anthony Black, the point guard, who threw down some thunderous dunks yesterday. I mean, one, he jumped up off one leg like LeBron James. I mean, this team was going and going. They looked better on defense coming from that game before that and giving up 86 points. They only gave up 54 the next game. And everybody has played. Everybody has started. Eric Musselman already nipped that in the bud. So what's next for this Arkansas Razorbacks last game overseas?
Well, Arkansas is about to play its toughest opponent, the Back and Bears. It's a club team.
Yeah.
It's had success, in Euro play, Euro Cup play, and it's going to have guys that are not only older and experienced, playing at pro levels, but when you have 11 newcomers, you've got guys that even though now you've played 3 games, you're still learning each
Right.
other.
Mhm.
And so I think Arkansas, Arkansas could very well come out of this 4-0. I think fans don't need to get, you know, too upset if they don't. I can't
Right.
tell other fans how to think. I'm just saying this will be, I think, Arkansas's biggest challenge. I certainly think Arkansas can win. But you talked about turnovers. I think that's been something that's really kind of reared its ugly head. Not as much in the first game. I think they had 11. Musselman didn't like that. He wasn't pleased with that amount. And then you're 20 plus the next two, 23 in game two, 20 on Saturday in this most recent game when they moved from Spain to Italy. But taking care of the basketball, we know, is a big part of winning because if you can't convert on positions you generate by getting stops,
Right.
or you can't get to that free throw line because you're picking up that pivot foot or stepping out of bounds, or maybe a little overzealous and lose control of the ball, whatever it is. It's been really a multitude of things, I think, on that part of it. Arkansas has been spotty on defense. They've held 2 opponents under 60 points. We don't want to lose sight of that. But there's been, multiple busted assignments. And then what you see when Arkansas holds a team like it did yesterday, a young team, to 54 points and 30% field goal shooting, outstanding numbers there. But what you saw was even when Arkansas busted some assignments, they had guys rotating over to help. They've got so much athleticism and length. They, even when you're maybe out of position, you can recover and mask it. And so I think Arkansas had a bounce back game because the middle game, game two, their final stop in Spain in Barcelona, they were not good defensively. Gave up 86 points, 48 or so percent field goal shooting, and just never could really put together enough consistent play to get stops. So you do like to see some improvement there as you move towards the toughest opponent. So we talk about turnovers, we talk about defense. I think the other big thing is the foul calling has been really lopsided against Arkansas, and this is a team that's had success every year under Musselman in being elite in winning the free throws attempted, free throws made battles. And we're seeing some of that and poor 3-point shooting come into play. But yet Arkansas is averaging 94 points a game. So what gives? I'll tell you what it is. What Arkansas has been really good at, and they've stayed tethered to this mentality and this mantra of attack the rim, attack the paint. They're built for this transition, whether it's open court, secondary, or even in half court. They're trying to get to the basket. You see guys making hard drives or making, passes deep to get around that basket. They've got 30 dunks. They're averaging 10 dunks a game, but a bunch more layups. And then you see guys really trying to get physical and clear out space. And we'll go through some of the individual players, but I think overall, if Arkansas can continue to have success in this next game playing around the basket, they're probably in good shape. Maybe they get a little bit more to the free throw line because that really hasn't happened enough. We'll see. But if they can't do what the bread and butter's been, they might be in trouble against the Back and Bears.
Yeah, the Back and Bears, an older team as well. And you talked about some of those individual players. I was going to get to that. Kamani Johnson and Anthony Black all on Twitter saying Kamani was saying he was going to start a Barry Dunning Jr. fan club, and TB was talking about Anthony Black. Anthony Black was showing Barry Dunning Jr. some love. Those guys just showing love all on social media and trying to get together as a team. Who's some guys that stuck out to you in these 3 games overseas?
Well, I think it starts with Nick Smith Jr. We weren't even sure because of the finger injury. Nobody's talking about that now. Coming over, we didn't know until he checked into the game a few minutes in game 1 that he was even going to play.
Yeah.
And what he's gone out and done is he's averaging 18 points to lead the team. He's had multiples in assists and steals, so he's productive there. But let's break down the scoring.
Yeah.
Every game, and you hear about 3-level scoring.
Yeah, he's got it.
And I basically looked at that. And I'm like, that's almost an insult to say he's been a 3-level scorer. It's actually more than that, because I think there's, when you've got 3-level defines 3-point shooting, finishing at or above the rim, and then somewhere in between you call mid-range.
Right.
But not all mid-range shooting is the same. Smith, in every game, there's not been one outlier. Every game he's put together 4-level scoring. That's 3-point shooting. He's had multiple makes. He's got 8 of Arkansas's 13 made 3-pointers.
Right.
Shooting at a 44% clip from 3. He's shooting 52.5% overall from the field. And so when you look inside that 3-point arc, he's had dunks, he's had hard drives with layup finishes, level 1. Then he's had a little array of spinning moves, floaters, runners. Sometimes he starts those from 14 feet out, sometimes right around, 6, 8 feet from the basket. But then he's had an array of real craft in his deep mid-range, free throw line extended 15 feet out to 18, 19 feet, where it's one dribble, sidestep, step back. And so there's really 4 levels with him. And one more thing, I'm really close to calling him a 5-level scorer, because I think there's a 5th dimension that I'm going to invent today, CJ.
Yeah.
And that's clutch shooting. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. Yesterday at the end of the 3rd quarter, beats the buzzer with a 30-footer. That's not a normal shot. Most people don't shoot from 30 in their normal game. But here's a guy that's gotten to that spot. He knew how much time was left and confidently stroked that. Nick Smith, throughout his high school career, grassroots play, was always a clutch guy in big moments, whether it's end of clock, end of game. It's had so many game winners against high level. I think that's a 5th level, is no matter where you're getting it, being clutch, understanding clock, understanding situation. And so I think we've seen already glimpses of that. And we hear about elite shooting, 50, 40, 90, 50% from the field, 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. He's 52.5, 44.4, and 100. So to me, you asked me about who's standing out, Nick Smith, and then I mentioned, he's done a good job facilitating, and he's done a good job with the steals. He had 4 yesterday, game high, 3 in another game, but also, he's had some turnovers.
Right.
But Arkansas, the whole team has. That's been their biggest problem on offense is the turnovers. And then you mentioned some other names. Nick Smith is where I started, but Anthony Black, I think, has done a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
You see him getting big minutes. That's going to be, you're seeing it now. That's what to expect in the regular season. He's getting the heaviest minutes, but he's led this team in assists. He didn't get any yesterday. I think he and Nick now are tied with 11 through this event, but does a really good job of finding guys in the right places. We've seen a little bit of his scoring. Yesterday, he opened up the game with a 3-pointer on a catch and shoot on a pass from Nick. It was a nice play design. But I thought, his dunks off the ball. He got one running baseline, a rim run, and he got a pass. He had another one in transition where someone passed from middle to wing and he goes in. So as good as he's been on the ball, we're starting to see him being a finisher off the ball. Arkansas needs that. They need offense where they can get it. This guy's explosive. He's big. He sees everything. He's a guy that you won't see it. We may never see a game where he doesn't get credited with an assist. But I look at Devo Davis and Kamani Johnson. These guys are doing their job. They're 3-year guys in the program. They know what Musselman expects. They work hard, they hustle, and they do the little things to win possessions. And the more you stack up winning possessions, the more you have a formula for winning games. And you see them playing to their strengths. They're not perfect, but Kamani Johnson, to me, no one talked about him with all this recruited length and athleticism and size. And he's an under the rim guy. We're talking about all this above the rim awe moments. Here's a guy that just goes to work, man. He's a monster on the glass, especially the offensive end. He finds ways to get to the free throw line. He finds ways to win possessions. He sets hard, he's physical presence and setting screens and freeing up guys. And he's just a warrior. He's the kind of guy that you you build around him with your talent and maybe guys that are a little bit more fluid with offense and some of the other things you do, because he's going to do the dirty work. Devo Davis still diving for 50-50 balls, still turning a chaotic play into something beautiful.
Yeah.
These guys are doing the dirty work and they know how to do it. And it's a great example for others as they start to try to still find their way. And now, I want to move over now to the wings, because I think, and then Trevon Brazile, but I think the wing possibilities with Jordan Walsh, Ricky Council, and Barry Dunning, who's been the talk of the really, because he was not expected to be a guy playing heavy minutes and having heavy impact this early, but he's had it. But those three are so versatile. They're long, they're quick, they're athletic. I tweeted this last night. They have like a Terminator personality when it comes. They just keep coming after you. They just keep attacking the rim and the paint. Defensively, they disrupt. You get deflections, steals, challenges at the rim. And then they're not backing down. And so you love that from the wing spot, because you've got a rotation of three there who I think will be in that top rotation. And then Trevon Brazile has missed 3 shots total, averaging double figures, 3 shots total in 3 games. Has been a really, I think, an effective shot blocker and shot alterer on defense. The one thing that was kind of missing was he was really light on the glass, and he turned that around in game 3. 7 rebounds, 4 on the offensive end. All 4 of his baskets, he was 4-4 from the field. All 4 were some version of a putback, a tip in or a gather and put back in. And so, we start talking about all these pieces. You can start to see the potential. For me, I see 6 that are in there. I see still possibilities for 2 more guys to figure out, for 2 more spots in that top 8 rotation. And right now, I think Kamani Johnson and Barry Dunning are kind of leading what's left in the pack with the Mitchell twins, Jalen Graham, and some others for that back end of that rotation. And if you're looking at Kamani Johnson, he's been, to me, the guy on the front line outside of what Brazile does with his versatility as more of a 4. Kamani's been the man at the 5.
It's true. I agree. And he talked about TV yesterday on how he comes to the bench and asks how many rebounds he got. He asked Coach Ruder that yesterday, and Coach West also came back with, hey, if he needs motivation like that, I'll hold the doggone board up and show him how many rebounds he has or the potential amount he can get for the game. You talked about that 3-man guard lineup with Devo, Anthony Black, and Nick Smith Jr. That's one of the lineups that he liked, and one of the things that poked out to him in this 3-game stretch already. One more game coming up, probably the toughest coming up on tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. But next, we got the Arkansas recruiting. Of course, I seen you out there recruiting and out there on the trail with the AAU circuits and all those guys getting ready for the high school basketball games, getting ready. Talk about some guys like Laden Blocker and those guys. I seen him working out as well on social media. Talk about those guys coming into this program.
Yeah, Laden Blocker, so far Arkansas's first and only commit for the 2023 class. We've talked so much about Laden. Big-time guard from Little Rock. He just returned to Sunrise Christian Academy in Wichita, Kansas over the weekend. I talked to his dad when he was driving up there. But he's a guy that was a team that was number 1 much of last season on the high school level, made it to the Geico National Championship Tournament, which are the top 8 teams, and didn't win the title, but he's a big part of the success on a national level for that program. And when you play that high level 5-star guys in practice every day, I think Laden, is maybe getting a little bit on the short end of the block on that 5-star evaluation, but ESPN has him number 28 knocking on the door. But anytime you have that level of competition in practice, let alone the national schedule they play, it's only going to help him improve and prepare. And I know when he's watching, he's probably paying very close attention to what Arkansas is doing overseas, averaging 94 points and getting out in transition, attack. Yesterday the team had 18 steals. We didn't mention that. Forced 26 turnovers. That's the kind of game that Blocker thrives in. So I know he's encouraged by some of the things he's seeing that system produce right now. But you talk about him being on board, but we've got Bay Fall and Asani Diop, who I think Arkansas, I've said it so many times going back over a month, that I think Arkansas is in the lead for those guys. Bay Fall played in the Under Armour Elite Next Elite 24 All-Star game on Friday. Played only 13 minutes in that game, but, was efficient. 7 points on 3 of 5 shooting from the field. They were all dunks. He had his first basket, a pump fake from 3, and then just drove down the lane and smashed it. But he had 3 rebounds and assists. That's really good production relative to your 13 minutes. But I think those guys, he and Asani Diop, Fall now they're listed at 6'11", Diop's around 6'10",
Right.
his teammate and cousin. Both of those guys are long, thin, quick. They can get off the floor, but they bring a little something different. Fall's more of an around the basket in the paint kind of guy. Long strides, both of them. Diop's, can play face up, can shoot a little bit, can put the ball on the deck and create. So they complement each other. I've said that a lot. But look for those guys after that unofficial visit back in February for the Arkansas-Kentucky game where Arkansas won. As soon as that game was over, they moved across the street to the Performance Center and met with coaches. It was a good unofficial visit. I think those guys obviously are still planning an official visit in the fall. Keep an eye on that Arkansas-Alabama date, October 1st, that weekend maybe. That's not set in stone, but that's one of the dates they're considering. But to see Bay fall in action one more time, before they get into their high school season, and got to watch him on ESPNU on Friday, I was impressed with some of the things he did. And then a couple other notes here, CJ. I talked today with LeBaron Philon, who's class of 2024. ESPN ranks him number 31 in the country. 6'3" point guard out of Mobile, Alabama. Arkansas contacted him on June 15th, which was the first day Division I coaches could have direct contact and make direct contact, initiate it via phone, text, or whatever with players in that class.
Right.
And since that time, he picked up an Arkansas offer. He told me today that he does plan to visit Arkansas.
Okay.
I know Arkansas coaches were able to watch him play through the spring and summer, and that's how the interest grew from there in that relationship. But Philon is the younger brother of Darius Philon, the former Hogs football great that's in the NFL now. And so they're cousins, so there's already ties there. And I noticed that Philon retweets some Razorback stuff. So he's got plenty of schools after him, but that's an update on Philon. And really the only other thing that we probably talked about before, but just keep an eye on Honor Boateng out of class of 2024, Little Rock Central, national top 36, according to 247 Sports, high-level 4-star, explosive 6'5" wing that's adding other parts to his game. Multitude of high majors offers. He's had one from Arkansas for over a year. Coaches have seen him play in every scenario. Arkansas coaches, whether it is high school, on the circuit, Adidas 3SSB with the 16U Arkansas Hawks this past spring and summer. But he took 2 unofficial visits to Arkansas in the span of 5 weeks, going from late June to last week. So just kind of keep an eye on that, because I think once you see as much time that's been invested with him, you start to see a priority there. And even though Arkansas is still concentrating on 2023, when we talked about they've already got Blocker, Fall, Diop, some other guys, Wesley Yates, who I didn't talk about, 6'4" guard, Beaumont, Texas. His dad told me today that Wesley's still looking to set up a visit to Arkansas sometime in the fall. 4-star guard, Arkansas spent a lot of time on the road watching him as well. But 23, but keep an eye on some of these 24 guys now. Dink Pate out of Dallas Pinkston, who is another guy that Arkansas and Eric Musselman really like. They love those big guard, 6'7" combo guard. He's really more of a point right now. Young player, but man, he's got a lot of talent as well.
I'm looking forward to it. And Laden Blocker, I'm looking forward to him meshing with this team next year. And those guys are still a lot of guys in Texas as well. I mean, you kept going. You kept saying Texas and Texas and Texas. I'm like, these guys are just rolling in from Texas. These guys ready to come to Arkansas.
But it is, and there's so much talent still in the state of Arkansas. We've seen what Eric Musselman's done with that.
Yeah.
He's gotten some high-level guys. We just talked about Nick Smith Jr. We know about Moses Moody and some other guys. Jalen Williams, Devo Davis, who's on the team now.
Right.
But now, when I went out yesterday and saw some of the younger guys, one guy to keep an eye on, I want to give him a shout-out.
Okay.
Is Jashawn J.J. Andrews, 6'3", pushing 6'4", strong, class of 2026, freshman at Little Rock Christian Academy. I went to an open run showcase here in Little Rock yesterday afternoon after my Razorback basketball coverage, and got to see him and a bunch of other really talented players. But I want to mention him and another player in that 2026 class, Jacob Lanier, another big guard, 6'5". Both of these guys you're going to have to keep an eye on in the class of 2026. Going to be freshmen, ninth graders. But these are guys to kind of keep on your radar, because there's going to be a lot of Arkansas Razorbacks thrown in the mix when you start mentioning those names. Lanier, by the way, recently took part in Arkansas's elite camp up in Fayetteville a week or so ago. But these are guys to keep an eye on. J.J. Andrews is the son, speaking of Arkansas football greats, Sean Andrews, who was an All-American at Arkansas, and was an all-pro offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, after his time at Arkansas.
Mhm.
But these are, you start talking about bloodlines with some of these football families, but now basketball players.
Right.
They picked the right sport, I think, CJ. I love football, but let's get them on the basketball court and see what they can do.
I agree. Let's get them on the basketball court. Let's get them on the hardwood, see what they can do. Kevin, I appreciate it, man. Another week of your Arkansas Hog Hoops report. I appreciate you stopping by, man.
CJ, good to be with you, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, sir. It's good to see you again. The Hogs will play tomorrow at noon. You can catch that on flowhoops.com. That's FLO hoops.com. That's not it for your pick trail. We got more coming up after the break.